The moment you react to an insult, you hand over your keys. You think you are standing up for yourself, but you are actually performing like a circus animal for anyone who wants to pull your strings. Look at yourself. Someone speaks a few words, your heart races, your face flushes, and you completely lose control of your direction. You are not strong, you are cheap entertainment for toxic people. The ultimate threshold of human danger does not lie in how loud you can scream or how aggressively you can strike back. It lies in how completely motionless you can remain while the world around you is fracturing into absolute panic. Epictetus walked into rooms of elite Roman politicians who had the power to sentence him to death. Yet his heartbeat never altered because he knew that true slavery is purely psychological. When you master your reaction, you take control of the entire environment. You create an unpredictable vacuum of silence that forces your opponent to choke on their own emotional waste. Stoicism is not about suppressing your inner fire. It is about building an unshakable citadel around it, so that no outside force can weaponize your energy against you. Controlled energy does not fade. It transforms into an invisible authority that dominates the room before you even speak a single word. When you refuse to give people the explosive reaction they are desperately baiting you for, you instantly shift from the prey to the ultimate predator. You become an unreadable force of pure, calculated execution. But a silent trap is already tightening around your career at this exact moment. If you allow your very next professional frustration to trigger an impulsive text message or an angry word today, you will completely ruin your status. By midnight, your lack of emotional defense will leave your long-term goals wide open to a devastating psychological failure from which you will never fully recover. You are draining your own life force trying to win arguments that do not matter. Every single time you push back against a toxic coworker, a fake friend, or a random critic, you are giving away your valuable power. You think fighting back shows your strength. In reality, you are just feeding their ego. The most dangerous move you can make is to offer them absolutely nothing to hit. The second threshold of dominance is mastering tactical non-resistance. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning that the people he would meet would be meddling, ungrateful, and arrogant. He did not waste his internal resources trying to correct them or fight them. Instead, he chose to step aside and let their toxic energy fly straight into the empty air. Imagine a heavy iron hammer swinging with massive speed, only to hit nothing but a shadow. The sheer momentum tears the machine apart from the inside. That is exactly what happens when you meet aggression with an unbothered, absolute stillness. You do not absorb their anger. You do not engage with their drama. You simply allow their desperate need for attention to burn itself out against your cold indifference. This level of emotional discipline completely unhinges people. They expect the chaotic shouting match, but instead they are forced to look at their own reflection in your silence. By practicing non-resistance, you lock down your mental fortress, saving your executive energy for clean execution, while your enemy completely collapses from their own internal friction. But an invisible leak is already draining your authority. If you choose to participate in the very next petty conflict that targets your ego today, you will hand your opponent the exact blueprint to dismantle your reputation. By tomorrow morning, your inability to let the noise slide will drag your mindset down into a toxic mud fight that will cost you your dignity and your strategic edge. You view a setback as a personal insult from the universe. When a crisis hits, when a close partner betrays you, or when your plans fall apart, you immediately sink into a state of panic and self-pity. You act like a helpless victim, begging for the storm to pass. Let me shock you out of that illusion. A truly dangerous mind does not pray for smooth sailing. A dangerous mind thrives in the eye of the hurricane. The third threshold of Stoic mastery is the absolute calculation of turning chaos into heavy, unadulterated fuel. When you control your reaction to a disaster, you stop leaking energy and start consolidating it. Marcus Aurelius laid down the ultimate law for this mindset. What stands in the way becomes the way. An emotional amateur treats an unexpected obstacle as a dead end. A high-status individual treats it as an aggressive injection of raw power. The moment chaos enters your environment, your emotional intelligence must instantly shift into a cold, predatory gear. You do not simply tolerate the friction, you absorb it, analyze it, and weaponize it against the problem itself. If a competitor spreads malicious lies about your work, you do not waste your breath defending yourself. You use their slander as free traffic, turning their negative energy into a spotlight that showcases your flawless execution and silent discipline. If a critical project completely shatters, you do not mourn the loss. You use the clean slate to engineer a far more lethal, bulletproof strategy from the rubble. Controlled energy is a fluid weapon. By remaining perfectly still, you become an alchemist, converting insults into extreme focus, betrayal into leverage, and chaos into an elite competitive advantage that leaves everyone else in the dust. But the clock is ticking down to a massive psychological ambush. If you choose to panic or complain when the very next unexpected variable hits your desk today, you will validate every single critic who wants to see you break. By tonight, your inability to convert external friction into internal power will cause your entire operation to fracture, leaving you completely exposed to those who profit from your downfall. You're desperately craving to be noticed. You over-explain yourself, you talk too much, and you think that dominating an environment means being the loudest voice in the room. You are completely blind to how insecure that behavior makes you look. High-status individuals never enter a space to be seen. They enter to map out the terrain. The fourth threshold of Stoic mastery is the terrifying authority of a mind that requires zero validation from the crowd. Seneca observed that we suffer far more often in imagination than in reality. An emotional person walks into a room and instantly leaks their vulnerabilities through nervous chatter and defensive posture. A dangerous mind steps into that same space and remains completely detached. They do not talk to fill the awkward gaps in conversation. They lean back, they stabilize their pulse, and they let their heavy silence weaponize the atmosphere. This is the peak of high-status behavior. When you refuse to react, you force everyone else to start guessing your next move. They wonder why you are not afraid, they wonder what leverage you hold, and they begin to drown in their own overthinking. Your calm mind becomes an unreadable mirror that reflects their deepest insecurities right back at them. By maintaining an unshakable, silent focus, you manipulate the psychological balance of the entire room without moving a single muscle. You become the predator, because while they are wasting their limited energy trying to impress you, you are quietly analyzing their weak points and positioning yourself for absolute victory. But the walls are closing in on your lack of strategic restraint. If you fail to adopt this quiet, predatory posture in your very next social interaction today, you'll bleed out your authority for a few seconds of cheap attention. By tomorrow afternoon, your desperate need to talk and justify your actions will expose your next major move to an opportunistic competitor who will use that exact data to replace you completely. You are still a financial and emotional hostage to your environment. You love to tell yourself that you are a free thinker, but you are just a collection of hyper-reactive habits. A single bad review can ruin your week. A sudden drop in numbers can make you throw your hands up in despair. If you do not own your reaction, you own absolutely nothing. The final threshold is the total integration of a proactive, unshakable Stoic mind. Epictetus gave us the ultimate truth. No man is free who is not master of himself. When you achieve this level of high-status discipline, the outside world loses its leverage over your future entirely. You no longer care about the opinions of fragile people. You no longer fear the unexpected dips in fate or business. You look at chaos not as a lethal threat to your execution, but as a minor ripple on the surface of a deep, frozen lake. Your calm mind is the most dangerous weapon because it cannot be broken, bought, or manipulated. You do not react to what happens. You execute what is necessary. When a massive crisis hits your operations, your personal life, or your long-term goals, you do not cry out for help. You step up to the controls, you lower your voice, and you issue cold, calculated commands that guide your vision straight through the storm. You become the absolute anchor for everyone around you, drawing supreme authority from your refusal to bend. This is the difference between a weak background character who gets crushed by the system and a high-status leader who dictates reality. Stop letting the noise set your temperature. Become the ice. But this is your final line in the sand. If you click off this video and instantly slide back into your weak, explosive, and hyper-reactive habits, you are voluntarily signing your own psychological death warrant. By tomorrow morning, you will remain just another fragile casualty of the modern world, entirely forgotten by a system that only respects cold, unshakable power. The choice is yours.